So the magical question, house or truck? If you're in a position where you're thinking about whether you should be buying a house or is it better to buy a truck? Well, I've had a fan send me an email and one of his questions are, what should be done first, keeping in mind that I have a down payment for a house and a credit score of 750? Buy a house or buy a truck? First to start the business, question mark. So this is a very interesting question, and I think that if somebody asked me this question 3 years ago, I would have a different answer than I do today. So today I can honestly say that if I was in that situation, I would probably end up buying the house and not the truck. The market right now in trucking is all over the place and it is not doing well, and people are not doing well at all. I hear already by the hundreds of owner operators that are giving up their trucks, lease operators that are really making $200-300 in their pay, some horrible lease agreements out there, some really bad financing companies out there that are just destroying these drivers with interest rates, and there's a lot of stuff working against you guys out there when you're buying a truck. So if I was in this situation, I would probably end up buying a house. I would move into the house or a portion of the house. I mean, there's a lot of passive income that could be made off of a house, whether you're renting out the basement, renting out a room. Today, there's so many websites out there that you could be renting a portion of your house out. Another thing, I mean, if you put that down payment in your house and there's equity in that house, you actually could take out a loan up against your house to buy that truck, and you won't be able to do it vice versa. So a house is an asset, but a truck is a depreciating asset, which means that you cannot really take a loan up against your truck. Best case scenario, when your truck is paid off, they won't give you a big balance for that truck. So what do I mean by that? Let's say your truck is worth $100,000 and it's fully paid off. Well, the banks won't give you more than $60,000 or $70,000 for that truck, but that is a depreciating asset, which means today it's worth $100,000, tomorrow it's worth $80,000, the year after that it's worth $60,000, and every year it really drops down in price. Now, when you have a house, it's actually the other way around. Today it's worth 500,000, tomorrow it's going to be worth, or in 3 years it's going to be worth 600, then 700, then 800. I mean, you know for yourselves that everything is getting more and more expensive in life. And the same thing happens with rent, and the same thing happens with housing. But with trucks and cars, it's really not like that. It is a depreciating asset. So which one would I buy first? I would buy the house first, definitely. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, when the rates were $4 or $5 a mile, I would probably answer the other way around, because that truck is going to give you that income in order to buy that house. But today, I just don't see it. I think it is maybe a little bit more profitable or smarter today to stand on the sidelines and wait it out. I would stand on the sidelines. I would continue being a company driver. There's a lot of companies out there that are paying really good rates, 65 cents, 75 cents. I mean, I've seen it all in the US. There's some great companies out there that have, that have good contracts, and you could be making really good money with them, making 65, 70 cents per mile. Owner operators, I also have seen good, and I've seen really bad, and I've seen horrible pays, and I will be doing a video very soon on pay statements that people have sent me over. So some good companies, some not so good companies, and the horrible lease agreements that you really need to stay away from. Okay, the next question here is also a really good question. You always say to buy a truck under a corporation. So my question is, why do they check my personal credit? And even after my personal credit check has been checked, they're asking me for a personal guarantee. So not only the corporation is liable, but also they want a personal guarantee for myself. Why do the banks do that? So you need to understand that your corporation really isn't worth a lot to them. A corporation can be opened online within 30 minutes. The bank won't look at a corporation unless it's an existing corporation for 10, 15, 20 years. But the first thing that they do is they want to get as much security as possible for that truck. So if I'm a bank and I'm financing you a truck for $100,000, I want your corporation to be liable for it. But it's very easy to close down corporations. I mean, we see all over the US right now what's happening with bankruptcies, what's happening with closures. Now, the banks really don't want your truck back. They're not in the business to repossess a truck and then to send it to the auction, to work out the numbers on what's owing or what's due. They really don't want that headache. They want to give you the money and they want to make sure that you pay it off after 4 years. Now, one of their security or collateral is to tie you in personally to this truck. Now, why do they do that? Because they know that when the corporation's directors are also personally liable for the truck, the chances of them defaulting in the payment are a lot less likely to default. A lot like a lease purchase agreement, right? When a lease purchase agreement, how many times do we hear of lease operators just giving back their keys to the trucking company that they're working for? Why? Because there's absolutely no recourse for them. It's a walkaway lease. Well, the banks don't want the exact same thing. They want the directors, they want the driver to be, not only the corporation would be liable for the payment, but for them to be personally liable. Now, you know that if you have a house, or if you have an asset, or if you have any asset, whether it's a car, they can come after those personal assets. Now, the one piece of advice that I can give you guys out there is to limit that personal guarantee. So if you're buying a $100,000 truck and they want a personal guarantee, there should be a limit to that personal guarantee, maybe $25,000 personally liable, $50,000 personally liable. I don't think that it's right that you should be personally liable for 100% of the value of what's owing to them. I think there's a corporation, there's the asset, which is the truck, and there should be a limited personal guarantee, which is $25,000 or $50,000. I don't think it's right that the bank should just have a full-fledged personal guarantee. And I feel that if you use this link over here below, and if you need financing in the future, I've really put together some really good companies out there in the US to finance trucks. Now, if you fill out that form, then they're gonna give you multiple quotes for financing. So technically, I mean, if you have good credit, you can really make the banks fight against each other. You can really put them in a situation where this bank wants your business and this bank, like there's 3 or 4 banks that want your business, and you can go with the ones with the best terms. Now, the best terms really are the best interest rates, but sometimes even more important than the interest rates, let's say you had 2 banks, one of them came in at 7%, the other one came in at 8%. Well, that 1% really over the course of 3 years is only, $800. But the 7% wants a full personal guarantee, and the one that's at 8% only wants a limited personal guarantee. So I think I would be the type, I would probably go with the 8% and give them like a limited personal guarantee of $25,000 and not the full guarantee. So the way that I would purchase that truck is I would purchase the truck under my corporation, and then I would get it financed, and then I would give a personal guarantee or a partial personal guarantee to that bank that's financing. All right, the last question revolves around documentation fees, transaction fees, and annual fees of these finance agreements. Why do they charge this? So honestly, it's just a load of crap, this documentation fee, the transaction fee. So let's say there's a broker involved. Now the broker would charge a documentation fee or a transaction fee. Now this can range, I've seen them from $750, $500, $1,000, $2,000, $2,500. I mean, it's nuts, it's all over the place. There is no concrete rule. Now, you can negotiate the documentation fee. So sometimes I even get from the banks, from the big banks, they give me a documentation fee of $500 or $800 when I'm financing 3 or 4 trucks, and say, hell no, I'm not giving you $800 for what? You're a bank. This is your actual job. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You shouldn't be charging me a documentation fee. So they decrease it to $250 or $300. I can't get away with them doing absolutely nothing, zero. What I hate to see happening, and what you should never do, is when you are looking for financing and somebody's trying to charge you to do their job. So for example, here, pay $1,000 and I'll get you the best quote possible out there. Well, no, that's not the way it works, because these brokers actually have their commission on top of what the banks charge. So if anybody's charging you up front to do their job, you should absolutely not do it. Those are fees that are just made up. You should never be paying somebody to do their job. And if somebody is charging you, or you want to compare quotes, then make sure you use this link below. That basically what I've done is I've put 4 or 5 banks in one place, where you fill out this form and goes out to these 4 or 5 banks, and they pretty much compete for your business. And that's what you need. You need a couple of people competing so you can get the best interest rates out there. I've had multiple owner operators that come to me or send me an email, hey Ronen, actually I will do a video on this, and he told me that he got approved for financing, and when I checked it on my finance load calculator, the financing rates was about 34%. There was a bank that was trying to charge. I'm like, what the hell is this? This is crazy. So I sent an email to one of my finance guys that I knew in the US, that actually I give them my leads, because they're really, really good, and got some really good feedback about them. So when I forwarded them this deal, I mean, they were able to get back with 14% interest rates instead of the 34. The reason that he got 14% interest is because he had a blemish, or he had something, a payment that he didn't make. So it kind of affected his credit score a little bit, but there's no reason to be paying 33%. And if anybody's quoting you 33, 34%, anywhere near those numbers, I mean, you should not be going with it, and it's not worth it to buy your truck. Well, there you have it, guys. In this video, we talked about buying a house versus a truck. We talked about personal guarantees that the banks want, and we've also talked about documentation fees and transaction fees that these crooked brokers charge. So I hope you learned something from this video, and keep these questions coming. Credit to this person for sending me the email. I really appreciate it because I think we can all learn from it. And if you have these questions, I'm sure there's other drivers out there that have the exact same questions. I'm Ronen, and I'll catch you in my next video.